So, hello and welcome to episode 20 of the Sales Syndicate Podcast. Episode 20, mad. Nearly half a year of podcast, which is scary to think. But this week, slightly different. We're going to be talking about hybrid or omni-channel outbound approaches rather than sales triggers. So, nice little break from sales triggers. I'm joined by Arran Nicholson from Selligence, one of the SDRs here. But I'll hand over to him to do a quick introduction. So welcome, Arran.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks for having me. Been looking forward to getting on the podcast with you. Long time coming.
Yeah, he's been asking me for months, haven't you? Just a little nudge. Is it my time?
On it? Yeah, exactly.
So, go on. Do you want to give us a rundown of how long you've been here, what you do, where you've been in the past, whatever you want to share?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've been in sales, I would say, about 7 years now. Started off as an estate agent for 5 years. Worked, different parts of Cardiff, which was good experience, completely different to what I'm doing now. But I left the estate agency last year and joined Selligence in April. Same day as you. We started the same day. Tech sales, I started off as an SDR. It was an SDR, for, I'd say now, probably about 8 months. Then I've gone into a senior sort of SDR role, heading up the SDRs now that we've got here, one in the UK, Jack, and Morgan in the US. So, it's going really well. I've even seen a massive shift since I've been here, the market, how it's changed, different approaches from last year to now. But yeah, big learning curve. I think I've learned quite a lot in the last 11 months. But yeah, it's been brilliant, to be fair.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you've gone from selling £500,000 houses or whatever to SaaS.
Yeah.
It must have been a hell of a change in that initial the first 3 to 6 months.
Oh yeah, it was a completely different change. Instead of selling myself, going into someone's lounge, selling my services.
You want to watch what you're saying there, selling yourself, just going into someone's lounge.
Well, just my charm, my northern charm. No, but seeing different types of properties, the best in Cardiff to the worst you can imagine, to proper cold outreach. Well, obviously as a estate agent, you had people coming to you to have their house valued, and now obviously tech sales, you're reaching out to businesses, learning the products, learning how to approach recruitment, sales teams. It's completely different, but the skills I've learned, I think, have been very transferable and helped me in the long run, to be fair.
No, I think we've talked about it at some length, but I think there's a lot of lessons to a lot of learnings that you've brought from selling houses and that sort of stuff. What's the sales cycle for selling houses? It's like 6 months, 12 months. It could be even longer. Yeah. So you've got patience at least. That's one thing you've definitely brought.
Definitely. It's toughened me up, dealing with solicitors on a day-to-day basis, chasing them, chasing chains, sales falling through, and longer sales cycles in estate agency for sure. So that's prepared me really well for the sales cycles now in sales for sure.
Okay, so you've been at Selligence a year, and as I said at the start, we're going to be talking about sort of hybrid or omni-channel sort of outbound approaches, which you've definitely, I would say, spearheaded for us here at Selligence over the past probably 3-4-ish months. But I think just to give a rough definition of what we're talking about with this hybrid omni-channel outbound approach is, in layman's terms, or to put it simply, it's just rather than relying on one channel, let's just say that channel is outbound cold calls, you've started to adopt an omni-channel hybrid approach as part of which you're using 2, 3, 4 channels, whatever it might be, on a daily basis and throwing it all into the mix. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But I think to sort of set the scene before we go into all of the advice and tips and success stories you're going to share, give us a rundown of what the market was like at the time that you decided, right, I need to switch stuff up.
Okay, yeah. It was sort of October time. going into November. I think the end of Q4. Obviously, when the news was announced, like we were going into a recession. I think a lot of businesses were obviously cutting back. Spend, trying to close out the year, trying to close that business out, to hit their targets. I think people had a poor Q3, so going into Q4, it was essential to get them sales in. So when you're speaking to people, it was I was doing just then. I was just cold calling. That was my only channel of reaching out to people, and email sequences. And the call rate I had to do to get a connection, I think it was something like 50 odd calls to one connection, coming into November, which absolutely doubles basically within overnight, going into November. And we were doing 100 calls. I was doing 100 calls a day, and maybe speaking to a couple of people on one hand, and really having like 2-3 good conversations out of doing that many calls. It was and obviously the demos were absolutely dropped massively. Obviously without any demos, we're not going to get any sales. So we had to. I had to think. I was thinking about what can I do different? What can I stand out? All of the sales reps out there reaching out. Everyone's cold calling. So that's where I thought I need to think outside the box, try another different channel of outreach. And that's where LinkedIn comes in, building my personal brand. And reaching out, without saying reaching out with relevance, reaching out for a reason.
Yeah, I was going to say, you talk about personal brand there. I think at the time we had done some episodes, or some podcast episodes, worked with a company called Hoxo, who sort of help with personal branding and social selling in the staffing and recruitment industry. And we learned a lot from Sean and the guys at Hoxo. And I've always sort of been a big believer in sharing stuff that you're working on and on LinkedIn. And I think we just kept having the same conversations, didn't we, of like, why not give it a go? We're seeing some really good early results, I guess you could say, some really good success stories. And then I sort of said to you, Arran, are you up for really getting stuck in with this? And you said, oh mate, I'm up for anything, let's do it. You'll be the one, the guinea pig, I think we called it, to see if it's worked. And it's been it's been an interesting 3 to 4 months, but very, very, very good.
I have to say, Sean Anderson, Hoxo, shout out to him. Started watching, joining his sessions. It really did open my mind of reach, instead of just cold calling, speaking to you might speak to 3 people in a day at the time. Within reaching out on LinkedIn, we can literally get your message out there to hundreds of people within seconds with what you want to say. And I think cold calling as well at the time, you've got to be catching people at the right time to speak to you. They're trying to close out their year. They're in loads of meetings. They're trying to catch their prospects. Then you've got me calling them in between their meetings, and that's the last thing they want. It's with cold calling at the time, it was just try and speak to someone at the right time, and that's with LinkedIn. At least when you're speaking to people, you're reaching out and the messages are there, and they can come back to you when they're free. But the success we've had the last couple of months, it has been fantastic, to be fair, with the different channels I've been using with LinkedIn and warm email outreach. It's been great.
There's a figures just popped into my head to touch back on that point that you mentioned. I think, what was it, October or November, where you noticed a massive shift in the market. And I think I saw a post, a LinkedIn post at the time, and it was something like company A, who had, it was tens of thousands of salespeople. It's something like 60% of them missed quota for Q3. And then obviously more and more stuff started to come out in the industry where basically the wider sort of industry sales teams were just missing quota, like 60-70% of reps just weren't hitting quota. And I think that's the point where all the news started coming out about recession in the UK, budgets getting tighter, headcounts getting smaller, pressure's growing. And I think it all sort of aligns, the moon's aligned with our sort of challenge to try that hybrid on the channel approach. And I think so that's sort of where we are today. But okay then, right, so we've set the scene. Let's start to break it down. So when we talk about your current hybrid omnichannel approach, give us the three key channels you're utilizing at the moment.
Yep. Okay, so I'm still cold calling. I've got a daily structure that I'm sticking to religiously, every day. So, for example, I'd have my admin time 9 till 10, which would be probably sending some warm email outreach, some LinkedIn connections. I'd do some a power hour between 10 and 11, a cold calling hour, and then back to back. Then 11 till 12, I'd do some more admin, more LinkedIn messaging. Again, maybe I'll do a post as well, relevant to the prospects I'm connecting with. So a lead off our platform could be, a new partnership or a new product release. So the prospects I'm connecting with are actually seeing what I'm posting, which could be relevant to them. And then, back to that, 12 till 1, I'd be doing cold calling again. I found sticking to these hours, that's the best sort of like pickup rate on the phone. So 12 to 1, I'll be cold calling again. Have me lunch 1 till 2. In the afternoon, after lunch, people are in a lot of meetings. So I find that's a good admin time. 2 till 3, again, bash out some warm emails. But these are personalized emails, not just, I've seen something on their LinkedIn that they've posted, or a new partnership, or even, they've gone through a funding round, even where they've been to the park or anything like that, or I've seen a football match, I'd relate, or, something like that, straight away on the first line, and then opening up a little bit warmer than just being not, like a sequence email. And then 3 till 5, I'd do 2 hours of cold calling again. But these cold calling, I'm not just, spraying at the hip and just calling someone out of the blue. I'm sort of tailing it down to, I've got a reason to call these people. I've called them before, or I've seen, someone from our platform that, like I said, like new product release, could be a merger and acquisition, regional expansion, congratulate them on that, ask them how it's going, and then obviously pitching our products. So it's a bit more warmer than going in absolutely cold. And then 5 till 6, I'll be setting up my prospects, who I'm going to be calling tomorrow, who I'm going to be connecting with, send more connections, and get me set up for the next day. So that's sort of my structure. I'm sticking out. So to answer your question, the free channels are, cold calling hours, the LinkedIn, connecting with people, and sending messages, posting relevant leads from our platform to the people I'm connecting with, and warm email outreach. It could be a lead, something I've seen on like their LinkedIn, and it's very a personalized email than just emailing 100, 200 people, the same thing.
Cool. So we've got cold calls. We are sort of big believers cold calling isn't dead. You've just got to do it right. So cold calling would be number one, or in no particular order, LinkedIn, and then email. So they're your three sort of key categories, or key sort of approaches. And you've sort of shared how you break your day into those, I don't know, call them deep work blocks. So you'll do an hour of one thing, you do an hour of another thing, and in between, and you're basing those around the key, I guess, hours for success. So, okay then. So when we talk about, you shared some examples there of LinkedIn, the stuff you're sort of doing. When you're talking about LinkedIn, give us a rough breakdown of your process for prospecting through to the initial request, and then ultimately your goal is to book a demo, right? Give us a rough breakdown of that journey just for LinkedIn.
Okay. So I'm using LinkedIn Sales Nav. Sorry, excuse me. I'm using LinkedIn Sales Nav. I've narrowed down the search, so depending what industry I'd want to go for. So say, for example, cybersecurity, be privacy and security. I'd put the job titles I want to aim for. So create a leads list, not an account list, a leads list to get the persona I want to target. I'd probably, get your heads of sales, head of business development, marketing manager, head of demand generation, CROs, VP of sales. These sort of job titles I find probably the best success with. Depending on what company headcount you want to go for. So traditionally, we're targeting 100 plus. So I'd probably normally do like 500 to 1,000 or 100 to 500. Put that in there. One thing I do put in, which I find is a really good way of getting people who want to look at change. So people who've been in the role less than a year. So they've come start a new company. They probably want to review all their processes, review tech stacks, probably look at new partnerships, stuff like that. So I found connecting with these people. So firstly, I'd get these people to a list. They would come in a list there. I'd obviously search the company, make sure they're an ICP, connect with the decision makers. So it might bring up the CRO. I would connect with that CRO, but I'd actually would click into that company and actually look through the decision makers, page 1, page 2, 3, and connect with the top up, bottom down approach. If you try just one way in, like the CRO, they might not always be the best person. That might actually look at tools to understand the pain points. I always try and work the whole company to try and get a way in. To try and get a quick win, even if that is maybe not the ultimate person who's going to sign off at the deal. But I'd connect with many people as I can. Once I've done that, so obviously you get 100 connection requests a week, so I'd try and use them wisely. I wouldn't message them straight away. That's a big no-no. I'd probably leave it a couple of days before you send them a message. So I probably would. Obviously, once you connect with them, you can start seeing their content. They can start seeing yours. So I would be posting, like I did this morning. I posted a cybersecurity lead, a new partnership, and I connected with loads of cyber people yesterday. I'd probably like and comment on a few posts of these prospects, and then I would probably drop them a message. I would say the first message maybe about 4 days, 4 to 7 days after connecting with them. It's just something relevant to their market space. Seeing if someone really soft, I'd just reach out to them, and I found that's probably better success than just going in really cold. That's probably the process on LinkedIn, really. The first initial process. I do like follow-up messages as well. I'll do second messages maybe a week and a half later if they haven't come back to me. Keep liking, commenting on their posts, keep drip feeding. Leads, I did actually join like a cybersecurity community group, which again, I'm just targeting them at the moment. So I drop leads in there. Obviously there's like 40,000 people in there. So I advise whatever industry you're going after, join a group where they're going to be sharing ideas, sharing their products. So to get yourself out there. So that's something I found successful as well, and really helped with response rates on LinkedIn.
There's a few things based on what you've just said. We'll just sort of like recap on, or I'll ask for a bit more information because I think there's some really good bits in there. So you said you're starting out, you're using sort of LinkedIn Sales Nav as one of your tools, and then you're sharing some of the leads from obviously the Selligence platform. But obviously what you guys are obviously actively working on is, like you said, is reaching out with relevance, right? It's reaching out at the right time off the back of one of these sort of trigger events. So it's almost like you're utilizing LinkedIn almost as like a cross-reference, like you said, on say like the ICP classification or to find some of their details, but you're using these trigger events from the platform to ensure that you're reaching out to a company who has not just fits your ICP, but they've, like you said, there's a new executive that's joined in recent months, or they've gone through funding, or they've got a new office, a new product launch. So you're combining that, I guess, traditional approach of just connect with anyone who fits your ICP with this sales trigger based, pre-intent data to try and increase your success rates.
Absolutely. It's not just connecting, spraying at the hip, hoping someone will come back to you. It's, what does our platform, where do we produce our leads, where we're strongest at, target that ICP, connect with people in cybersecurity, payments, fintech, regtech, foreign exchange, sell tech, anything like that. And I'm just drip feeding. They're going to see it on their posts, just about our leads, sharing leads to our platform, sharing recent successes. Even with LinkedIn as well, it's not always just about sales. It's pitching your product. It's about getting relating, getting people to relate to you. People like something funny. Like I always sometimes put my dog on there and relating to sales triggers. Where the best one I think I had was Ralph chasing a balloon around. It was like chasing your prospects at the moment. I think it was in Q4. One of the first posts I did actually, chasing prospects. That this is the feeling at the moment. And loads of people engage with that because it's relatable.
I was going to say that particular example. It's something I think you had in the realms of like, I don't know, some like 40 or 50 comments or likes or whatever. But in terms of the impressions for that post, I think it ended up in the realms of like 10 to 20,000 impressions for that post, didn't it? And 10 to 20,000 people seeing your face and your bio and your subheader, whatever you want to call it, which is, like you said, it's gonna make you more relatable. It's gonna remind people that you're there, who you are, what you're doing, and then they've liked that and engaged with that. And then when you share a free lead or whatever, that's when you've started to build that rapport. But the reason I wanted to touch on the fact you use these trigger events is because for this hybrid outbound approach to work, for the LinkedIn approach to work in the same way as cold outbound, if you fill top of the funnel with rubbish connections, right, rubbish prospects, you're just going to get poor results. So you want to be making use of those 100 connections by putting people who fit your ICP, that fit a profile or fit an event, or have sort of displayed a certain level of sales trigger event that makes them worthwhile connecting with. Otherwise, you're just going to waste all 100 connections, and it's just a complete waste of time, right?
Yeah, exactly. You need to use them wisely, making sure you're connected with the right people who your product's going to be absolute fit. So that's anyone selling the product out there, make sure you're connecting with the right people that your perfect ICP, your top 10, your top 20 companies you really want to get in with. You want to reach out to them, the right people, and they're going to see value. What if you get them on a demo, they're going to see value. And I think touching to what you said, Jamie, the post I did where I've got like loads of different impressions, thousands and thousands of impressions, like that is a massive outreach within one post. That could be a day. Than me, like I was doing November, cold calling 100, I think it was 150 people in one day once, and I was speaking to a couple of people, and I've only actually talk about my product to 3 people instead of thousands within one post, and it's getting your name out there,
Okay, so we talk about this multi-threaded approach and sort of how you handle it in LinkedIn. And I guess what we're saying is, I don't know, think of it, the only thing I can think of is like layers, right? So think of it as like a sandwich. You're just layering up this sandwich full of different outbound approaches, and they all sort of help one another. So you haven't stopped your cold calling. You're spending a good amount of time on LinkedIn, which is that more personal connection. You're supporting it with these warm emails, which feature leads, and they're basically all helping one another, which gets you to the ultimate goal of booking demos, right? So booking demos, let's talk about some success stories over since, what was it, October, November. So
okay,
Great. Give me the last 90 days in terms of LinkedIn specifically. What have you achieved, just roughly?
So I probably, if I talk about December, that is literally the last month. Everyone's winding down for Christmas, obviously closing out the quarter. That's the last month. Everyone's trying to finish business for the year. That was the absolute toughest for cold calling. I didn't book a single demo over the phone in December. it was all by LinkedIn. And I ended up booking, it was 24 demos in December just by LinkedIn alone. And again, that was just the approach I mentioned, that I explained, reaching out with a reason, drip feeding leads, and I had 24 demos booked in December. January, one thing in December as well, I could people were like finishing off for the year. I was booking lots for January. People are more sort of open at looking at new tools, new year, open minds, people starting new roles. I ended up booking, I think it was 50 demos I booked in January. There was 34 from LinkedIn, and the rest from cold calling and warm emails. So, which is absolutely crazy. I ended up getting, smashing my target for January. And then same with February, I booked, it was a little bit tougher for February, but I still booked, I think it was like 32 demos. And, I converted like 80% of that, 85% of that. So I think I had like 25 completed demos, which again, there was about 4 or 5 by cold calls and the rest LinkedIn. So, it's absolutely crazy.
It paints a very juicy picture for anyone who's thinking about adopting this like hybrid approach or just getting stuck in with LinkedIn. So I think I was just trying to like tot it up in my head there, but we're basically talking in the realms of 75-ish, let's say 75-ish demos booked through LinkedIn. And if you weren't doing LinkedIn, then say goodbye to those 75 demos, right? So if you said to any sales reps, that's very true. If we said to any sales rep right now, right, in the next 3 months, we'll give you 75 demos through LinkedIn, they'd say, get me on LinkedIn right now. Right.
Snap your hand off.
What do I do? Yeah, they bite your hand off. They'd say, show me how to do it, and I will do it, and I will spend as much time as I can doing it. So how much time do you spend a day on LinkedIn?
I'd probably say majority, but obviously I'm still obviously breaking up my day. So I'd probably say 3 hours a day. I'd probably say 3 hours a day on LinkedIn. Obviously I've got 2 hours to 3 hours cold calling, and obviously I've got some admin time for like setting up prospects for the next day. So I'd probably say just over 3 hours a day.
Cool. And let's have a look at that 3 hours then. So in that 3 hours, let's just break it down roughly. So how much time are you spending, let's say, on that personal branding approach? That's your posts, your commenting, your liking, whatever. How much time are you spending on, let's just call it that pure cold outreach on LinkedIn, the messages and stuff, like the aiming to book a demo?
Yeah.
How is that 3 hours spent?
I'd probably spend 15 minutes of the day just liking and commenting on posts. And as an average all over the day, obviously not all in one go. I'd probably spend about 10 to 15 minutes thinking of a post and putting a post together. And then the rest, two and a half hours is messaging people really, and coming back to people, and then maybe 15 minutes of that sharing a lead from the platform. So, I'd probably say majority just message once you've connected with people. Sorry, let's roll that back. Actually, I'd probably say, probably about an hour connecting with people and probably about an hour messaging people, and then half an hour of just like doing a post and sharing leads on the platform.
I think the key thing to take away is that 3 hours a day sounds like a lot, but you're doing 3 hours a day on that and 3 hours a day on cold calling, yet you're booking substantially more demos from LinkedIn.
Absolutely, it's absolutely crazy. I didn't think, I'll be honest, in August, September time that I'd be using LinkedIn like this time last. If I was saying to myself in September I'd be booking that many demos off LinkedIn to myself in March, I'd say you're absolutely nuts. But it's the way forward. I think people don't want to be cold called out the blue. They want to do a bit of research on you. They want to, find, you got to reach out to them at the right time. And I think with LinkedIn, you can message them. It's going to be there when they, whenever they go onto LinkedIn. You're not going to cold call them at a bad time, or they're not going to be in a meeting. The message is always going to be there for them, and they'll come back to you whenever they're free. Sometimes I've had that in the evenings. I go back to them on a weekend. Myself, I'm not saying everyone out there, all sales reps, you need to do that, but if I get a message, I'm going to message them back in the evening or on the weekend with whatever material they've asked for, or if they're asking a bit more about me. But yeah, LinkedIn is the best way to reach out with people with relevance.
Sorry, my phone started ringing there.
Really?
So you said February was slightly tough, but I sit next to the sales guys. So for anyone watching, I sit very, very close to Arran anyway. So I overhear the successes, the pains, the things that went well, didn't go so well. But in the last say 7 days, or even this week, right? What have been your successes this week? Just through LinkedIn.
Yeah. So what I did do, and this is me because I want to set myself up for every week. Sunday night, I'd spend an hour. If I haven't used the rest of my connections requests up for that week, I'd connect with the people I want to connect with. Use them on a Friday or on the weekend. I'd space them out over the week, the 100 connection requests. So say you connect with someone on a Monday, you use all your 100 connection requests, then that might not be the best day for response rates. So I try and level it out. But what I did anyway was connect with people on Friday and Sunday. And I had loads of people to message Monday morning, which, I started liking and commenting on their posts and stuff like that. But I actually ended up booking 5 demos yesterday over LinkedIn and already 2 today. So, my target's 10 a week. I need to book 10 new demos, and I've hit 70% of that in a day and a half.
Yeah, I was going to say, so in a day and a half, you've already booked 7 demos. And I think I saw a post on LinkedIn the other day that said a guy booked 15 demos in a week, and they were calling him an absolute beast. And I thought in my head, I was like, Aaron's well on his way to that, if not averaging, those sort of figures. And, the bulk of it is through LinkedIn. So I think, that just goes to show, the value of LinkedIn. But whilst we're on this, recording this, actually, do me a favor and open up your LinkedIn just on your laptop and just go into your analytics and have a look at the number of impressions that you've got in the last 30 days. Because I think that'll be a very interesting figure for us to share on the call. So no rush.
Yeah, of course. Let's have a little look.
Because we've sort of touched on it, but the impressions, it is free, right? You're posting, say, 3 times a week, I think off the top of my head that Aaron's posting, and those impressions are free. So it's getting your name out there, getting the company name out there for free, and all you have to do is post. So in the last 30 days or whatever, we'll get Aaron's figures for the last 30 or 90 days just to show how valuable that is, and it all does play into the success that people are seeing on LinkedIn.
So this is impressions on my posts. In the last 30 days, I've had 8,664 impressions.
Cool. And then if you open that up to 90 days, I think the other one, LinkedIn offer.
Yeah, 90 days. Over the last 90 days using LinkedIn, people have seen my posts. I have had 32,000 people.
It cut out a bit there. What was the figure?
32,000 people.
Right. There you go. So in the last 90 days, 32,000 people, the majority of which are probably going to be your ICP, because you actually only started sort of using LinkedIn when you joined the company, didn't you? So 30,000 people, a good bulk of those are going to be within Aaron's target ICP. In 90 days, and in the last 30 days, 8,000. So that's 32,000 people that have seen you, your name, the company, what you're doing for free. And all you've had to do is post, engage, spend 15-ish minutes a day doing that, and then the rest just follows that. But 32,000, I think it's mad.
It's crazy. It was a lot more than I expected, actually, figures wise. But yeah, it's crazy. Little tip as well when you're posting, I would tag in your company, tag in, anyone like say you congratulating someone on a new partnership, like a lead from your platform, copying the company so you've got their reach. You always want to comment on your company's posts, liking their sharing their posts to get more outreach out there and sharing it with your network, and that helps getting more impressions. That's what I found, trying to get as many people to sort of like and share, and you get more people seeing it.
So I was just in my head there trying to work out the conversion rate in terms of the comparing the average, because I think for cold calling it's something like, it sounds that's just ridiculous, but it's something like 1% or like 1 or 2%. Because once you factor in how many people you actually connect with, then how many people you have a good chat with, how many people you then book a demo with, it's something like 1% actually end up turning into a closed won deal.
I can give you my, I just went through my figures yesterday with my head of sales. So for February, I was averaging 43 calls for one connection.
So one in, what's that? Two, that's, well, just over 2%, right? So that's just over 2% connect rate.
Which is just crazy. I did about 900 calls. I do about 900 calls a week. A month. Sorry, about 900 to 1,000 calls a month. On average, that was just like for February.
Right. Now, on the flip side, so this is the reason I asked, let's compare it to LinkedIn. So you connect with up to 400 people a month. So of the 400 connection requests that you send, how many people do you think you connect with?
I'd say about 20%. 20 to 25%, I would say.
So roughly, let's just call it 100 people. So in any given month, you're connecting to roughly 100 people. And then off the back of that, you're booking, I think, like you've shared some of the numbers there, in the realms of anywhere from, I guess, in a sort of tougher month, maybe in the realms of 20 to 25. In a better performing month, it could be upwards of 50, right?
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, James. When I first started, it was probably about 20-25% because I'm getting my name out there and I'm connecting with more prospects, obviously in areas that I've been sharing loads of stuff in cyber, payments, fintech, regtech. That's probably really now, I would probably say 30 to 40% connection, like connecting with people. Probably right, now, I would say.
Okay, so 30-40%. But so you compare that 1 or 2% to that 30 or 40%, and just immediately there off the bat, your top of funnel has gone from 1 or 2% going in, let's say, to your pretty high converting funnel that we've already touched on, to 30 to 40%. So 35% more people going into your sort of process, which is mad to think. It's just bonkers.
It's nuts figures, isn't it?
Okay, then. So. No, go on.
I was going to say, I think with how the world's changing, in sales, with the LinkedIn, I think, long term, it might be, part of a salesperson's criteria to have a social brand, your own personal brand, have a LinkedIn presence. That'll be part of your sort of daily structure. I think that might come into play. Maybe not part of a job criteria on a job interview, but I think it's a very important part. Then because the world's changing in sales, I think it'd be very important for any job role to have that presence.
No, I agree with you completely. I think I spoke with Hoxo a couple of months ago, and I said the same thing. I think it's not necessarily going to be a key requirement of a role, but I think it'll be in that part of a job description where it says like, not required, but it would be great if the candidate had these skills. And absolutely, if you're able to show, the last year of your LinkedIn activity and what you've managed to achieve through that, you're going to be superior to anyone who's not actively, on LinkedIn. I think that's, I completely agree with that. Okay, then, so we've sort of we've set the scene. We've gone through what you're doing in your day-to-day, how you're approaching LinkedIn, your success rates. We've established that you're booking, I would say, in the last 90 days, I think we said, what is it, 75%?
75.
Well, in terms of the sort of split between demos booked via calling and demos booked via LinkedIn, is it sort of 2/3 LinkedIn, or is it 3/4 LinkedIn?
I'd probably say, booking wise, demos wise, more than 3/4 LinkedIn.
So let's just say 4/5, right? So 4/5, 80% more demos booked via, 4 times as many demos booked via LinkedIn as cold calls. And I think that's a really nice, like, sort of figure to sort of start to round up on. So what's next? How are you going to look to scale or improve that? Have you had any ideas or sort of patterns you've seen of where you want to sort of focus, niche down?
I think doing a podcast like this, talking about successes, getting my name out there, posting more, maybe doing my own podcast one day. But I think, I'm always trying to think of ideas. I'm using all my emails as well. So people I connect with and they don't accept my connection requests after a week, I'll send, these are the people I'm sending my emails to. So I'm using my emails wisely. So I've started to do that as well. But yeah, I think joining groups, I think I mentioned it before, some community groups in who you want to reach out to. There's a community group, for every industry out there. So joining them, maybe I might start joining some webinars, more events on LinkedIn. Again, just to get my face out there, get my product out there. And again, it's just getting your reach out there, isn't it? It's getting more people knowing who you are, knowing what we do. We're the best. We're aiming to be the best in the world at sales triggers, Selligence. So I think that's my aim. I think I'm maybe join more events, more webinars, do some more podcasts, and keep doing obviously what I'm doing in the background as well.
So it sounds like basically it's just a optimization or like a fine tune or polish almost of, you've seen that it works, and now you're going to start to invest a bit more time in, I guess, different multimedia as well, like you said about the podcast. It'd be good to have you on again as well. We can chop that up into clips and you'll be able to share that on your LinkedIn as well, which I think I'm quite excited to see. Like if you start sharing some of these, actionable advice, tips, the stories, I think that could work really, really well for you as well. So it would be, it's going to be interesting to see. So just to finish up then, advice, just share some 3 bits of advice you would give to anyone who isn't currently utilizing LinkedIn for them to get started.
Okay. So I guess any sales reps, that could be any SDR, any AE in any business, even someone in head of business development role. I think having a daily structure is absolutely essential. Structuring your day, sticking to it, being religious with it, sticking to your admin hours, your cold calling hours. The structure I put together is, I found that's the best practice, the best times people pick up the phone, the best response rates, when to connect with people, what days. I normally find a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday best for people coming back to me on LinkedIn. I think that's probably using your connections wisely is another advice. Make sure that you're connecting with the perfect ICP companies that you want to get in with, and the right decision makers, not just the CEO, because he probably might not even have, yes, he might be the ultimate sign off at the end, but he won't be the person using the tool and understand the pain points of head of business development, head of sales, your AEs, your team leads. And I would say, you've got to give everything. I feel like if I don't leave the day and feel like I'm done absolutely everything, when I'm leaving work, then something's wrong. I would say just maximize LinkedIn as much as you can. Be personal. People want to relate to you, so it's not just about your product. You want to mix it up with your product, what you do, a poll, something funny out there, maybe a story about a cold call that you had, or a message, a situation, people want to relate to you. So be yourself is more important than in any sales role, because people buy from people, don't they? That is, the old cliche. But be yourself, maximize every multi-channel approach. That is, the days of just cold calling all day, every day are dead. In my opinion, they really are. So sticking to that structure, sticking to reaching out with relevance, for a reason, and people will, you'll have better response rates in all different ways of email outreach, cold calling, and LinkedIn.
Amazing. No, that's some really, really good sort of advice and actionable tips there. One last question: what are you posting tomorrow? What's in your schedule?
Might do a poll, maybe. I might talk about the podcast today, how I found it, because it's obviously I've done one already with Cognizant. This will be my first one, obviously, with yourself, Jamie. But yeah, I'd probably share a lead from the platform, and I'd probably talk about podcast as well, to be honest.
Well, do you want to get Ralph into the picture so you've got something for the podcast? Ralph, for anyone who's watching or listening or watching, is Arran's puppy dog, which he brings into the office. There you go.
He's a good boy. He's been sat here the whole time, been sleeping in his bed. So, yeah, he's our mascot here at Selligence. And, we absolutely love him.
Listening to you and I waffle on about LinkedIn or sending anyone asleep on it. So, but no, brilliant, mate. Thanks for jumping on. We're just coming up to midday, so you've got your hour of cold calling, power hour. Yeah. So I'll let you get back to your desk for that. But no, really appreciate it, and we'll have to get you back on soon.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us on, Jamie. We'll it's been great, and we'll talk about something else another time, and. Maybe we'll go to the pub now instead. Maybe after lunchtime.
We'll take a laptop and a camera, and we'll do it down the pub.
Yeah, next time.
Brilliant. All right, we will catch you in the next episode.
Thank you very much. See you later.